Hey everybody, Colin Plume, President, CEO, Noble Investments, founder of My Digital Money, here with my friend and co-founder, Guy Gottschalk.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, say hello. And we're here today. We're going to talk about a few different topics, and hopefully we're going to stay focused, and we're not going to go on tangents.
We'll see about that.
That's not going to happen. I had an interesting, I love reading Elon Musk's tweet.
Yeah.
And last week somebody tweeted that they realized, just somebody from Twitter tweeted that they realized that what could be the most powerful technology ever invented in modern day history has been bought by a single organization, which is Microsoft.
Right.
So the person was talking about ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah. And Elon Musk responded and said, I'm sure it's going to be fine. Don't worry.
It's going to be fine. Don't worry.
So,
ironic that he says that as he was the guy that bought Twitter, right? I mean, you know.
And he also co-founded ChatGPT.
He did?
He did. He co-founded ChatGPT.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know
he was
that.
One of that. He's not involved in the day-to-day operation, but that brings me to the question. We've heard about a lot of people reacting to ChatGPT, but what is it really? Can somebody explain what is this new technology?
Yeah, essentially it's artificial intelligence being used with natural language processing to mimic a human. You can ask it any question, and it incorporates empathetic data and human sentiment, and it can respond as a human, or it sounds like a human, or it's starting to sound more and more like a human with the latest versions. But yeah, essentially in theory it can replace a lot of what we do. It even is more creative with the newest version, where you can actually use it to create scripts or music, songs, all of that, which is great but scary at the same time.
Right. Where does it get the information though? So you can ask it questions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's trained. I mean, whoever created ChatGPT, they train the model with real data. So you feed data from all kinds of sources, and it's just learning over time. So it just gets better and better.
Could they use it in? I just thought of this. Would there be any application to use it in like training of let's say you set it up to train your like a new employee? Could you use it in that context? Would it be you could put that data in and then it could interact?
Yeah, that's a valid use case. You just have to train the model with information from your company. So. And hopefully you have enough data to train it.
Sure. So in theory, you could have an employee trained by AI without wasting any labor hours and training, because obviously it's a huge expense. As with all these layoffs, these big tech layoffs. I was talking to someone that works within Google, and they were saying, these, and I know they're trying to cut measures and they're trying to save money, but it's, there's also if they have to hire again and they have to retrain again, there's a massive cost. Did they think about that before they're doing any of these layoffs? Not to go too much sideways on this, but, I think what I found is interesting when talking to people about it is that there's no age person that hasn't been interested in this, new technology. And, a lot of people have been, putting information in, and, we work with an influencer that will write some content out of there, pull content out of there. So there's a lot of talk that a lot of writers will sort of become obsolete. What are some other jobs you think, Guy, that will be either affected or just destroyed by this new technology?
Well, a lot of different types. One common use case is customer service. You can have a chatbot that uses it, and you can ask, any kind of questions regarding your a product and service. I know that Amazon uses it for customer service.
Oh, really?
So in theory, now that with the latest version, you can actually you have human-like prose and human-like language, and it can be more empathetic, right? Because that's very key to a customer service role, right? Is to have some empathy, because
Sure.
usually people call you with issues.
They're upset or
You know,
something
some-
happened or a mistake.
Occasionally, they're very happy with their service and they want to tell you, but most of the time,
Sure.
they're complaining about
Right.
something. So you have to be empathetic, and that would have been one of the main challenges with using an AI model until now. So that's one type of job that I think it could replace people to some degree. You're challenged with groupthink with these type of models, because you're training it with data over time, and it's going to respond like everyone else, right? Like according to how the group would respond. But I guess what you lose there is the ability to be very unique, right? You might have someone in customer service that has a unique point of view and might do an excellent job, but you might not get that with the ChatGPT, because
And groupthink could be wrong too, right?
Could be wrong.
Could be
Yeah.
wrong. I mean, look at Family Feud. Anyone watch Family Feud? anyone's ever yelled at the screen on Family Feud because the answer comes up and it's not the right answer,
Yeah.
but it's what that group of 100 people, right? It's kind of the
Exactly.
same premise, right?
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
or Twitter,
Or yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
the one that trends isn't necessarily the one that.
No, that's right, exactly. My digital money, we've always focused on customer service, people. We've never talked about AI. Are we going to replace people with AI?
No. So one of the things that differentiates us is our customer service, because
Right.
we want to be human-like, and at least not anytime soon. Maybe, once it evolves and becomes, very human-like, I still don't think we would do it, because we'll lose that ability to, really be unique and handle unique situations.
Yeah, and I think people, when they're dealing with finances or anything, they want to talk to a live person. I think that's one of the great things about My Digital Money, is that you're in a crypto space where a lot of companies have sent a lot of their people answer the phone overseas, or they've shifted to these types of things. And I get it from a cost perspective point of view, but
yeah, but it's funny that a lot of these big financial organizations are actually using it, or they're started using ChatGPT. Like you have Microsoft and Stripe and Morgan Stanley Wealth Management has announced that they started using it internally, because it that bot, it can be empathetic, and that's what you need for when you're giving financial advice. You need accuracy, but you need and also you can be more objective as well with
So when you call Morgan Stanley and you go, I was looking at my portfolio. Can you tell me? And he goes, your portfolio is down negative 42%.
it's not going to be that way. Yeah.
No, it's not going to be.
It's going to say, "Oh, I'm really sorry that your portfolio's down 42%."
Sorry, man.
Sorry, bro.
It's happened to a lot of. It's happened to a lot of people, and
But I have
don't
this
worry.
better investment. It's called crypto.
Yeah.
It's actually Bitcoin's doubled since last year, and it's not connected to the markets. And
Okay, but what's the long-term play here? So we know that this is something that a business can use, right, for their customer service, or maybe even data generation or training. But is there for the whole of humanity? What is the long-term play of ChatGPT? Can it learn from the internet? Can it bring out sentiments that get buried because it's not trending or stuff like that?
I think the idea would be that a lot of jobs that are sort of manual go away, and obviously there's going to be some pain there initially for people that are in those occupations. But I think if the automation side and we move to an automation world, it would benefit us in the long term to not have to do some of these jobs. I mean, maybe it can, let's say for farming, maybe it could handle a lot of the farming. Maybe the hard labor part would be minimized, and someone could watch it. And I think the more we move away from people doing some of these physical labor jobs that are not necessarily necessary could be better for us and help us live longer. And then, I guess the creative aspect is what they're still testing is could this technology come up with ideas that we've never even thought of and solutions? Are there solutions here that we haven't even thought of? I do think, on the, government side, on the controlling side, they're going to use this technology to gather data, right? I mean, I think, the big conversation, like TikTok, for instance, where everyone's talking about TikTok, and I think this is another way to extract data from us, because they're going to know based on the questions that you're asking, they're going to formulate.
I mean, my hope is that ChatGPT would be, on the blockchain eventually and not owned by one big organization like Microsoft.
You're too late.
Well, I mean, you can have a different version of it.
True. That is true. Are they going to be, from a business point of view, when can I buy ads here and start to direct
It's
people?
not on the internet yet.
It's not on the internet.
It's not
Even better. So maybe it would be has anybody applied for ad spend here?
Not yet.
Because if they're asking a specific question, we could be right there for them.
Right.
Well,
Well, okay. So what you mentioned earlier, job loss, because it's going to take away for sure some jobs from Americans.
it already has.
It already has. So don't you think it's reason enough for us to not develop the technology, because we don't want to take away jobs from people, right?
Yeah, but on the other hand, there's a lot of benefits to using it, like scalability, but also, in theory, if you're a financial advisor, let's say you're human, you may not be able to personalize your advice as much to someone calling in. ChatGPT in real time can leverage that person's personal data to give more personalized experience and advice in a way that a human can't. Especially when you're a company that serves, thousands of people, you're not going to necessarily have the same capability, that a ChatGPT application would.
But what about the people that will be losing their jobs?
I mean, it's hard. It's a hard part. But I think, there's so many industries that technology, in one form or another, is going to replace. And so, but I like the idea of it does give people the ability to become more self-sufficient, to get another place to get information. And I think that, it's out of the box.
It's more accessible, or, you could type a question and get your answer in real time.
Well, and the joke about buying ads is that if you type the same question into Google, for instance, you're going to get 4 ads.
Right.
Right. So, obviously Google is not in love with this idea, because it's going to hurt their revenue.
Yeah.
Pretty considerably. They'll probably adopt some form of this. But yeah, I mean, that in essence, and those, for the purist that believes in this, those ads, or where Google puts the responses, is not necessarily the right answers or the best answers or the way it should be either.
Right.
So, if you type in, just to be a little fatal, if you type in, is it better to be cremated or buried in the ground or whatever, you're going to get ads for cemeteries.
Right.
There, right? It's going to know your area, and you're going to get ads for forest lawn. Not to, knock on forest lawn. I'm just saying, where, maybe you're not asking that. You're not asking for that. You just want to know what's better, and you want to get an opinion, and then it gives you data, which this thing can do. It can give you the data, or there's a million applications for it, but it does take out the business aspect, which I think a lot of people that just love technology, that's a big part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I'm a big fan of blockchain, is that, when you have companies like Google developing a search engine, it's no longer objective, right? It's like whoever pays them the most money is going to show up at the top.
Right.
And if you do it on a blockchain, in theory, it can be much more objective and pro-user, right? And at that point, like, users own their data. and it just changes the whole dynamic. Just ends up being more pro user.
Is that what Zcash is kind of focused on? Is Zcash, or is Zcash more about privacy?
It's more about privacy, but it's just like a Bitcoin alternative that is more private than Bitcoin. It
There is
encrypts.
there is a blockchain based browser, right?
I think there is. It's a
Live
Brave. It's called Brave, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, not live peer. Right. Okay.
Oh, LivePeer is for streaming. Yeah,
Okay.
it's like Netflix alternative.
No, okay, so we're coming close to the time limit, but in closing, two questions. One is that now that it has actually been purchased by Microsoft, so that's final. There are talks that Elon is going to start his own as well to compete with it. But then it comes back to the question of whether it's Microsoft or Elon or somebody else. It comes back to the question of we could be manipulated. The data could be manipulated so that it answers questions in a way that it is skewed towards whatever is going to be more profitable for the owner of the platform. That's one. And second is that how do we then evolve as for us as mankind, if we have this potentially a very, very strong and intelligent platform that can match human intelligence, how do we then ensure that we're not going to be overpowered by machines, or at least people that are controlling the machines?
That's a big question. I mean, I think it's the big fear, right? Is that they will gain control of.
You need an off switch. The problem with Terminator didn't have an off switch.
Right.
There was no way to override.
Yeah.
The machines took over.
Arnold was right.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody feels comfortable with that. It depends on what access these systems, what access they get to. I mean, one of the, you mentioning how, obviously the reason that Microsoft bought it, they want control of it, but also who else could afford it, right? I mean, the amount of money it's going to take to run this thing is enormous.
Right.
So then I thought like, well, who else could buy it that would be impartial? And it's like, who else is impartial but you need a big corporation with big pockets to buy this kind of thing, to keep it going, unless you just had a bunch of billionaire philanthropic people do it. And I don't think that's happening.
They would still want their money
the
back.
government can't do it, right? They don't even have the sophistication. I mean, you worked, with the IRS on their back end for many years. It was pretty antiquated, right? I mean, it was
very, yeah.
I mean,
and we modernized their system, and I put modernize in quotes because it still wasn't modern, but it was modern for them.
Right.
What they wanted to build. So yeah, I mean, it's naturally government's going to move slower.
Yeah.
So organizations are in theory more agile, but I believe with the rise of Web3, eventually we're going to be able to develop alternatives to this type of software as a community versus like having a company develop it. And that's what's being done with, Ethereum and Bitcoin. But we still have to develop the tools and the systems to, do it efficiently and on a larger scale. And we'll get there eventually. But until then, I think it's not bad for these large organizations to, invest their resources to develop these things, to show us what's possible, to innovate. And then at some point we take that technology and we run it on a blockchain.
Yeah. And before we kind of take off, I don't know if this is, but could you we have this Ethereum, it's coming in 2 days.
You're talking about the next upgrade.
Yeah.
The Shanghai upgrade.
Yeah.
It's the latest upgrade since November when they did the merge.
Right.
So this one will allow developers or validators to unstake their tokens. So to be a validator, there was a requirement that you needed to stake 32 Ethereums.
And how difficult was that?
Well, you have to have money, right, to be able to, become a validator. You need 32 ETH.
Right.
Which is,
Right
now
now
it's less. It's like 70,000 or so.
So become a validator before you had to invest at least 70,000 in, and now
and now there's, you don't have that minimum. But also that means that people that have their tokens locked in there, their Ethereum's locked, can take it out.
So are people going to sell? There's
different schools of thoughts. A lot of people that stake their tokens bought it at a much higher price.
Oh, they bought it higher than
where it is now, and they're big believers of Ethereum. So I personally don't think they're going to sell enough. That there's going to be enough selling pressure, and also now it's the barrier to entry is lower, so people can come in as well and buy.
So they were buying Ethereum when it was closer to its peak to become valuable. Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't realize that because I was reading about it too, and I was thinking to myself because they were saying that they think a lot of people will sell, which obviously there's some people that will sell. But
there's some because you have big organizations like Celsius that have staked a lot and they're going through bankruptcy, so obviously they're going to sell, right? They have like 170,000 Ethereums or so. So they'll sell, but that's not enough to really drive the price down, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, we will be discussing this in length later.
Okay. All right. I just couldn't let it end without asking that question.
I think long term it's very good for the price of Ethereum.
Okay. In closing, actually, can we ask ChatGPT any kind of question that we want to know?
Sure.
So just keep in mind, it's not the data that it has is from 2021, so you can't ask anything too current.
Okay. Why don't we ask who's a better player? Kobe, LeBron.
Is it going to be able to answer that? Will it
Jordan.
answer it? Can it form a?
Let's see what it says.
See what it
Kobe
says.
or
LeBron. If it says,
If
it's a tough question. That is a tough question.
Let's see.
It might say Steph Curry. We don't know.
The question of who is the better player between Kobe Bryant and LeBron James is a subjective one, and opinions may vary depending on personal preferences and criteria. Both players have achieved great success and are widely considered among the best basketball players of all time. Kobe Bryant won live NBA championships and was named All-Star 18 times, with LeBron James has won 4 NBA championships and has been named an All-Star 17 times. It goes on, but obviously it's being very objective.
Diplomatic. No answer. Okay.
Yeah, it's not edgy.
So it's
I
not
don't like this guy.
So you won't take a stance on anything.
We'll revisit that question 6 months from now and see how it
answers that.
Okay, well,
Thanks, Guy.
Yeah, we made a playoff.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for listening. Thank you. All right, we'll talk. We'll do it again.